Hey everyone, What If Fan here, bringing you another exciting part of What If Transmigrated as Minato Namikaze. You can find the fanfic title and the original author's name on my Patreon page. Make sure to check it out and show them some love. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Quick update. The series What If Ichigo awoke his true powers to save his mother will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these three fanfics. What if Transmigrated into a nightmare mode Dragon Ball world? What if Reborn in Highschool DxD as a Lucifuge? What if Fishing System in Food Wars world? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top pick and start working on that series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. Alright, let's jump into it. Chapter 111 Infiltration Mission 02. Third Person POV. Land of Rain, Year 36. Jiraiya's team entered the Land of Rain as the rain continued to beat down on them. It had been some time since they had started entering the country, while Minato, and especially Hanabi, spotted sentinels or ninja forces passing by. It was easy to identify the ninjas from each country if they weren't disguised, with the ninjas from the village of Rain wearing a uniform with tubes at the mouth that covered the entire chin, seeming to be some form of breathing apparatus for underwater use. Since Minato could detect hidden people better than Hanabi, despite not having her range, he noticed many of them hidden in rivers and lakes. This country is quite complicated, isn't it, Sensei? Minato spoke behind his mask. Yes, there are many open areas as you've noticed, but still half of the country has forests, so we should be careful, he spoke, since their mission was to remain undetected. Following the path for a while longer while passing the sentinels, Jiraiya decided to stop on a mountain slope. Let's stay here to rest a bit before continuing, he said. The team headed towards that side as they entered a boulder, and Hanabi made a hideout with an earth jutsu, with the ground opening and then closing without anyone nearby while Minato took care of it. A fire was lit while Jiraiya prepared to spend some time there. Minato could feel ninjas from AIM passing close by, but none suspected their presence there. With the fire lit underground, Jiraiya returned to them. Eat something and recover your energy, you're going to need it, Jiraiya spoke as they nodded. Are we heading to the far west, Sensei? Minato asked while Jiraiya was in front of a map, noting the points of the Land of Rain. Yes. As you can see, the map of the Land of Rain follows with a mountain range covering the south, he said, pointing to the map, numerous mountains there. It would be difficult for a group of ninjas to cross there. After all, there should be numerous ninjas from AIM, who know that region very well and could easily ambush them if they do not have a good sensor. Well, there's an opening in this region, Makoto spoke, pointing out that there wasn't an area without mountains from south to north, like an opening between them. But this area was on the other side of the country. True. Do you believe the infiltrators passed through there? Minato asked after agreeing with Makoto. It's a guess, but I believe so. The place is hard to access and it's very likely they would pass through there, Jiraiya mentioned. This opening had large rivers and rice fields where farmers engaged in this activity and others for cultivation. Yes, but if we're wrong and they pass through the mountain precisely to deceive us knowing we have this information? Minato asked, curious. That's okay, that's why we sent several groups here. They all took a region according to the plan and will stay alert. The mission is to capture that group, and even if they are discovered, the priority is to get the scroll and return to the Land of Fire immediately, Jiraiya spoke while the boy understood. Jiraiya turned to Minato once more. Did you place the seals along the way? He asked, referring to the Raijin seals. Just a few, in case of an emergency and we have to use them, Minato responded, indicating that he placed the seals periodically along this route, as a safety backup in case they faced a major threat. Sensei, can you tell me more about the war? Minato spoke again and asked, wanting to understand more about the situation. Still, as a genin, the information was very limited and he couldn't get precise information at the camp. After all, only the command knew and Minato didn't have access to them other than having his sensei. Jiraiya looked at the fire for a while and finally nodded. Alright, let me tell you about how things have been from the beginning. He began. With the alliance of the countries of Earth and Wind, naturally, this country was chosen to be the battlefield. He spoke as the students paid attention to his words. The country of Wind invaded this nation first, to stabilize routes and territory and use it to combat their target, which is us, he continued. Did Hanzo let this happen? Minato asked curiously. Of course not, he immediately repelled the first forces from the Sand Village, and they had a rough time dealing with the poison that Danzo uses. However, the tide turned when Chio, known as the greatest medical ninja in the world currently, began finding antidotes and even learned a lot from the salamander poisons, he said. So that's why we are having difficulty finding an antidote for this poison, Hanabi commented while Makoto remained silent. Yes. The Sand Village gained a lot of advantage early in this war and has many territories in the south. Danzo could handle this, but as soon as the Stone Village invaded from the northern border, he had to deal with two fronts, and he's only acting when necessary. His intention still continues to expel all nations from this country, he said in a calm tone. I can understand him, a country like this will suffer severe damage by the end of this war, no matter the winner. Minato murmured, it didn't take a genius to realize how this country with major problems with its highly rainy climate would be in a few years. Yes, back to the war, we are not doing well, we are losing the war, on this side, Jiraiya spoke, leaving everyone looking at him in surprise. Isn't that bad? Makoto murmured. Of course it is, Jiraiya laughed at the obvious, but the war has not yet ended, we are having many deaths, but we can still turn this situation around. He spoke confidently, showing his unwavering faith in Konoha. But why choose a country like this? Isn't Hanzo known as the shinobi god in these times? Hanabi asked again. After all, there were other options, like the Earth Country invading the Grass Country, which also lay between the Fire and Earth nations, or even the River Country, which was between the Fire and Wind. Because here it would be easier for them to organize a joint attack, even a man like Danzo would have difficulty facing such power, Jiraiya answered. He sighed a little and looked back at his students. Don't think too much about the war itself, just keep focusing on your task. We'll improve our situation and this mission will be crucial for that, Jiraiya spoke while his students nodded at the end. Let's sleep here a bit and continue at dawn on the path to the west. They spent some time roasting something to eat on the fire, until they took mattresses from their storage scrolls and went to rest. Minato ended up taking some of his Fuinjutsu scrolls from Mito and began studying them. He wanted to learn to make seals using his own chakra, something only people with advanced knowledge in this area could do. The original Minato had this knowledge, since he applied the Raijin by touching his enemies with the palm of his hand, as he did with Killer Bee in the Third Ninja War when he encountered the group of the Fourth Raikage. This was also practically a death sentence. After all, the ninja could only wait for Minato to appear beside him and kill him without him being able to react to it. Of course, for that he would have to reach his opponent, but it would be very useful. Minato also wanted to work on his peculiar kunai, different from the traditional one. Maybe he would talk to a blacksmith in the camp when he returned there. After waking up while the day had not yet arrived, they left the hideout and noticed that the rain had ended, but still with dark clouds in the sky, they continued passing through blind spots of the patrol, putting back on clothes with masks. They followed the path and the day continued to emerge, if they could even call it a day. After all, everything remained dark without any sign of the sun. Without delay, they continued the path, navigating through areas and staying a bit away from the mountains to not encounter large groups of ninjas. They followed the rest of the day undetected, even encountering sensor ninjas like Minato could feel with his haki and avoided them before entering their sensitive field. At night they camped once more, hiding underground. Moving through the forest until they encountered dozens of lights in the distance, they were avoiding cities, to not draw attention, but they found one along the way. Shall we go around it? Hanabi asked. Minato, can you detect any ninjas there? Jiraiya asked. I'll need to get closer, Minato spoke as he followed the path. There are no ninjas, sensei, Minato informed. They then approached the city, remaining hidden on the rooftops. Minato couldn't help but observe the structure of this country, which was quite different from that of the Land of Fire, not only because of the war happening here but also the climate did not help much. The people were not yet in a state of hunger and food scarcity. It was raining a bit, but it was a fine rain, while people avoided puddles and still had very depressed faces as they walked around the place. Two residents, a man and a woman, covered by waterproof cloaks, talked in a low voice as they walked down the main street of the city. "Did you see the troop movements last night?" the woman asked, looking around to ensure no one was listening. "Yes, and it seems we are receiving more refugees from the southern areas. This will get very bad. We don't have an abundance of food, now we will have more mouths to feed," the man responded, keeping a certain worry in his voice. "That, and you know they are going to force us to give up our food stocks? They are saying they are being reserved mainly for the ninjas and the armed forces," said the woman with a furrowed brow. "What do they think they are? We worked all harvest to have this food. What is Hanzo-sama thinking?" the man spoke. "Quiet. There might still be ninjas around. If they heard you, you could be killed," the woman immediately said with concern. "It seems Hanzo was putting some pressure on the people of this country," Minato thought as he listened to the conversation among the crowd walking through the streets. "But on the other hand, they are being protected by the soldiers of AIM," he reasoned. "This is a quite harsh reality. But this is war and how it devastates wherever it goes," Jiraiya said, observing the place like the others. The three students just observed this, saying nothing. "Now, let's continue." Jiraiya spoke as they began to move again, continuing their path to the east, leaving the small town behind. Chapter 112 Infiltration Mission 03. Third-person POV. Land of Rain, Year 36. In the middle of the rain country, in a more rural area with some rice paddy fields and other crops, there was a farm with a few rooms, tended by a family who looked after the place. This very family was outside their house at the moment, while there were four ninjas from AIM themselves, using their breathing tubes while staring at the kneeling family who were quite distressed at that moment. "Please, sirs, we've given everything you asked for," the older man, who seemed to be middle-aged, spoke to the four ninjas. "This only lasts a few days. Tell me where we find more and where your money is." The ninja spoke with a fierce tone while having cold eyes for those people. "But sir, we have given all we had. The little that remains would be for my family, soon we will have nothing more to eat," the farmer exclaimed. "Listen here, you idiot." The ninja seemed to lose patience as he approached the farmer and grabbed him by the collar. "You better hand over everything you have, since we are the men protecting you from the war, we are more important than you. You better give everything, otherwise, we will kill your whole family," he threatened. "Please, sir. We have nothing left," the older woman begged, while a boy, apparently 8 years old, looked with anger in his eyes and with tears coming out, but could do nothing, as there was a girl next to him, 15 years old, appearing to be the couple's children. "I don't care what you think," the ninja spoke again, "you civilians have to do our bidding." He was about to hit the man while raising his fist back, but one of the other three ninjas behind him slapped his shoulder. "Forget it, man. We need to be quick. Our supervisor will notice this and we have to go back to patrolling the area." This ninja spoke. The ninja who heard this nodded and let go of the man, making the farmer fall with his face into a puddle below his feet from yesterday's rain. "So what will we do?" This ninja asked his companion as the family members seemed to be breathing a sigh of relief. "Let's make it quick. We have some time, so kill the man and the boy, we can take the women inside. It's been a while since we had a bit of fun. If they know how to please us, we might even let them live and come back to this farm from time to time." He spoke, simply leaving the family on the ground at that moment. Clearly, he would kill even the women, after all, he did not want any witnesses for the war crime they were about to commit. "Wait, you can't be serious. We are members of the rain country, you can't do this to us," the farmer spoke, frightened both with fear for his own life and the fate of his family in the cruel hands of these ninjas. "We will do this." The ninja who had knocked him down looked with a cruel gaze. "You can't do this." The farmer, with hatred, stood up while advancing trying to hit the man with a punch, but fell back after the same simply kicked him, unable to react to that. Two of the other three ninjas behind him started laughing at this. "Who cares? We'll just kill them and then say it was an enemy ninja group from the other three nations, you idiot." The ninja who kicked him spoke with an even crueler tone. He did not care about these people or even people from this country, only about surviving and gaining as much advantage as he could, while fighting in this war he was forced into by the order of Hanzo-sama. Do it quickly, the other spoke, already impatient with all this talk. Alright, he commented as he grabbed his kunai, and the family, already frightened, couldn't even react as he approached. The ninja appeared in front of the farmer with the kunai in hand, ready to eliminate the first older man in front of his entire family. However, at this moment, a flash emerged, becoming even more intense due to the darkness that the clouds of that day brought, while a man dressed in black and with a mask, apparently 1.40 m tall, emerged from that flash, and with a common kunai in his hand, he slashed the neck of that ninja before he could react, as his companions quickly jumped back. The enemy! They exclaimed, as they prepared for battle with Minato falling to the ground next to the dead body of the ninja from AIM, while the family, confused, watched as the farmer crawled backward in fear. They were still traumatized by the fact that they were about to die and even be abused just moments ago. Who are you? You bastard! One of the ninjas commented, his voice distorted by the mask he wore. The masked ninja looked at the body of the one he had killed and then turned back to the three ninjas. You are ninjas from AIM and kill and abuse your own people. You are a bunch of trash. No, you are much worse than trash. A childlike voice emerged from the mask. There were few things that could anger him as much as seeing ninjas from his own village committing war crimes against their people. A foreign ninja. Someone shouted, recognizing that Minato was not one of them but rather someone infiltrated. Take that, you damn invader! They began throwing kunais, but Minato quickly started to defend himself with the kunai still dirty with blood, clashing against those of the enemies, and as soon as he did that, he began advancing on them. His speed was far superior, so he easily surprised them as the first one, who thought he would fight with taijutsu, quickly had his throat cut without being able to react to Minato's speed. The others retreated even further after this, while Minato threw a sealed kunai at the third, who quickly defended himself. But he appeared right after with Raijin, surprising and stabbing the knife into his skull without being able to react. You killed them! Someone shouted behind him, as another kunai advanced towards him. Defending himself from this by moving his arm quickly, while noticing something on the kunai that began to fall, he murmured, a paper bomb. The paper stuck to the kunai, caught fire and exploded the next moment, with the ninja hoping that at least he had eliminated that guy after losing 3 companions. Is he dead? The ninja from AIM spoke with a concerned tone. No, and you were slow, but you still finished off my clone. A new voice emerged behind him, and that was his last conscious moment before having his own head severed. The sound of a puddle being filled by the body and head falling was heard the next moment, while Minato calmly observed the dead enemies. He had created a clone and hidden as soon as he made the flash when he arrived, just to deceive them without them realizing it was just a copy. The ninjas from AIM aren't very smart, probably Hanzo has a different astronomically among most of them. Minato murmured, hoping the only challenge here would be Hanzo himself. The explosion of the paper bomb still echoed through the area, and Minato turned back to the family of farmers who looked at him frightened. He knew that this move was risky. After all, he might even jeopardize his own mission with people reporting about a strange ninja killing others in this area, and knew that this would soon happen, but he didn't care about something so small. After all, there were several spies in this country now. He quickly collected the bodies, sealing them in a scroll to leave no evidence. He returned to the family, still looking cautiously. I think this belongs to you, he said, throwing a bag of their crop in front of them, the one the ninjas were going to take. The farmer just nodded cautiously. When they ask what happened here, you can tell the truth, Minato said, before jumping and disappearing from in front of that family as he headed for the forest. You really went there? Makoto, who was waiting for him in a tree, said. Yes, now let's find the others, Minato replied dryly. It had been a few days since they left that last city, heading west. They were split up to survey the area. After all, they were close to their objective. Moving forward, they found Hanabi and Jiraiya with a group, being one of the teams that left the camp on the border in dark clothes and 2 others in gray clothes and different masks, some Ambu ninjas infiltrated in the rain country. Any certainty that the team will pass through the valley? Jiraiya asked. Yes, they are not following the river. It's very likely that they will use the high altitudes in the extreme west, avoiding the open area. The Ambu spoke, as a group of Ambu had managed to locate the group of sand ninjas, while they were following and passing information to the command, which in this case, was Jiraiya. Alright. Let's rest a bit, contact all nearby teams, and let's form a group to attack them directly. Jiraiya spoke, as the Ambus and other ninjas left the site, leaving only Team 7. Settle down while we organize our group. Jiraiya continued as he opened a scroll and wrote some things on it, before summoning a toad that opened its mouth to catch the scroll with its tongue and disappeared the next moment. Minato remained silent and observed as new ninjas began to arrive over the next few hours, totaling 30 ninjas at the site, including 2 Ambus. We can't gather more and we have a good team here. He has 50 ninjas in his group according to the Ambu ninjas, but we still have the element of surprise. Jiraiya declared, while everyone nodded. Now let's go. We should spread out to not draw attention and everyone meet at this point on the map. Jiraiya spoke, pointing to the mountains after the opening on the even further west side, intending to use the plains to set a trap. Everyone nodded and left shortly after. Heading to this point, Team 7 again passed through blind spots avoiding sensory ninjas and patrols while finally arriving at a huge river, this being the passage from south to north passing through the area between the mountains. There are many ninjas hidden under this place. Minato murmured immediately. It seems we were mistaken then, the aim force is not in the mountain, or at least it's not distributed there only. Jiraiya commented. What do we do, sensei? Hanabi asked. You're not going to like it. But first I need to gather the others. He spoke while the students frowned. The ninjas who were scattered from Konoha approached and gathered near the river. We had to use a very early morning time to pass here. The Ambu spoke about his experience from the south to here. I understand, but don't worry. Jiraiya spoke while summoning at least 10 toads about 1 meter tall. We'll put them inside the toads, and they will go under the water to the other side. He said. Minato could feel everyone frowning behind their masks, but what else could they do? Hanabi and Makoto had looks of disgust. A moment later the toads paid the ninjas by team while swallowing everyone until they began to jump into the water. While the AIM ninjas stayed close to the surface, a group of toads passed beneath them without being able to perceive the number of Konoha ninjas there at that moment. It was after a while that they emerged on the other side. It was not a very good experience being in the stomach of a toad that magically was big enough for them, yet it was disgusting to see the flesh walls, as they headed to land, before releasing them. Remind me to never do this again. Makoto spoke with a gloomy tone. Don't complain, but let's continue. Jiraiya cut off any complaints as they advanced towards the mountains in front of them, moving to set up the trap. Chapter 113, Infiltration Mission 04. Third-person POV. Land of Rain, Year 36. The group continued heading for the mountains, splitting up again to avoid more sentinels on the other side of the forest, continuing past the sentinels. This lasted until an explosion occurred on the other side, while Minato returned to Jiraiya, waiting for an order from that thing echoing through the forest, as it was too distant for him to see with his chakra. This is bad, Jiraiya murmured and looked at his students. Let's check what happened. He spoke as they changed their route, approaching the explosion. Some ninjas from our squad fell into a kind of paper bomb trap left in the forest, Hanabi commented as they arrived, with the help of her Byakugan. This is bad, let's see how they are before this attracts AIM ninjas patrolling the forest, Jiraiya said. More deaths, Minato murmured internally as he approached the site, feeling the lifeless bodies, or parts of them. Jiraiya and his team approached after seeing some Konoha ninja feathers at the site, with a man in his 30s screaming after having his arm blown off, yet still having a better fate than his other 2 companions. They were a team of 3 people, as far as Minato remembered. He needs to stop screaming, it's drawing too much attention and this place will soon have enemy ninjas, one of the masked men said. What happened here? Jiraiya approached. They were following the route but ended up tripping a trap. We found some too, but we're lucky. It seems that this place is starting to have a lot of paper bombs scattered around, and 2 of those ninjas weren't so lucky, the ninja informed Jiraiya. First make him stop screaming, then stem his bleeding and put the bodies inside a scroll. We can't afford to have AIM ninjas catching Konoha bodies here, Jiraiya said with a colder tone than usual. This was war, there was no more room for compassion, he had to be very direct here. After all, there still had to be someone to command these forces, while Minato looked on with a neutral expression too. What more could he do? He had been seeing this since the mission that went to rescue the Daimyo. But they were our comrades, a ninja spoke, while Jiraiya continued in his dry tone. Yes, they were our comrades and we are still on a mission. Save mourning for the dead for later. There are still thousands of ninjas depending on this mission. Always remember that. Jiraiya seemed still very focused on conversing. Despite the questioning, Minato knew that many other commanders wouldn't even bother to respond to that. The ninjas nodded at the commander's words and began to organize the site, while they picked up the dead bodies and a masked ninja, being an Uchiha, put the surviving man under a genjutsu to sleep and managed to bandage him and have someone start carrying him, before running back. Remember, this place is now full of traps, be very careful and stay alert, Jiraiya spoke while the others nodded. Heading back on the route, the observer's haki began to show numerous traps in that area. Sensei. This is a forest full of paper bombs. Minato commented. That shouldn't be a surprise, after all, this is the path near the two allied countries, AIM and possibly Hanzo. They know if both parents join and invest to the east together, they will devastate the country just to reach the border of the Land of Fire, he commented. Let me lead the team, Sensei. I'm the best at detecting traps, Minato requested and Jiraiya did not disagree as they moved forward, passing through all the safer areas. Midway, some team was not so lucky, due to the sound of an explosion echoing many kilometers away from them. But without being able to go back to see what was happening, while Jiraiya asked them to continue. They followed this formation for a few more hours until they finally arrived at the western side mountains. Arriving before any team thanks to Minato finding the best path, something even Hanabi could not do. Now let's wait. Jiraiya commented as he summoned several frogs, which began to run through the forest, waiting for the group to arrive. It was after 2 hours that the first group arrived. How was the path? Do you know who caused that explosion? Jiraiya asked the group of Jonins as he walked up to them. We don't know, it was behind us, he said. Jiraiya nodded. Let's wait for the others, he said as they stayed, waiting some more. As time passed, the ninjas began to appear, waiting for more and more to arrive, until a single man entered at the end. Where is your team? Jiraiya asked. They were killed, caught by a trap, he said. However, at that moment, Minato took advantage of the ceiling kunai with Jiraiya and used Raijin, reappearing next to Jiraiya without anyone there being able to react, and slapped the ninja making him fall to the ground unconscious. He is a spy, Minato told a confused Jiraiya as he looked at the puzzled boy. A spy, are you sure? Jiraiya asked seriously, while the others looked confused about how the boy had discovered this. Yes. As you know, I am a special type of sensor, Minato said, sensing the man's intention with his haki. Alright, let's see who is behind the mask. We have a skilled Uchiha with genjutsu here, don't we? Jiraiya said as they picked up the man and removed his mask. He is no one we know, the Jonins concluded. Alright, let's create a space underground and rest here tonight. Tomorrow we will continue the journey. Has the Ambu not appeared yet? Jiraiya asked and there was no response from the forest. They created a space with earth jutsu, while finally the Ambu appeared with a ninja on their back. What happened? Jiraiya immediately asked before they entered the hideout. I caught them, they were captured by AIM troops, but I managed to rescue them after eliminating the troops that captured them, he said from behind his mask while Jiraiya nodded. Let's talk inside the hideout about this, he requested and everyone spent the rest of the night there talking. Tell me what happened, the Uchiha asked, interrogating the prisoner. We found foreign ninjas falling into our trap, he said in a trance. What happened next? There were 2 people, one died and the other managed to escape after his companion sacrificed his life to save him as soon as he noticed the trap, he said. Do you know from which country they came and why you came to infiltrate among us? The Uchiha asked. We realized that you were a large group and were coming to the mountains after 2 traps were discovered. We don't know from which country you came, because we haven't interrogated the prisoner yet, he said. I volunteered after taking the clothes and passing information about this group while hiding among you, he said. The Uchiha nodded and looked at the members watching the conversation. We were lucky that the Ambu managed to rescue the ninja. Our mission could have had another headache with him also wanting to interfere in our business. Jiraiya was the one who spoke. Now let's rest while we wait until the first sign of the day to go to the mountains. The team from the sand village must be nearby, he said as they tended to the injured, mainly the man without an arm and the other who would wake up traumatized after his companion died to save him. War is so sad. Hanabi caught Minato's attention as the three were in a corner of the cave. Makoto nodded, although she was not as emotional as Hanabi. It's not a beautiful thing to experience. Minato murmured. He understood that Hanabi was reaching a stress point. They were surrounded by deaths all the time. Since they stepped onto the battlefield, the reality of operations hit like a hammer. Seeing village comrades dying every day was not easy at all. Minato could even understand why Tsunade was as stressed as that time when they were at the medical camp. We lack medical ninjas in the squad. Minato murmured. He knew that in the original story, the war shifted significantly once Tsunade's idea of placing a medical ninja in each squad was implemented. But such an idea had not yet been implemented, thus greatly increasing the mortality rate of Konoha's ninjas. Medical ninja? Hanabi asked, looking at Minato. Yes, we don't have medical ninjas here. This is a problem. After all, we can only stem the wounds and often just let our comrades die without being able to do anything, Minato said. Makoto remained silent, while Hanabi seemed thoughtful about Minato's words as she looked at him for a while. I'm going to polish my weapons and check my ninja tools, Minato said as he opened his weapons to check his gear, sharpening his kunais and shurikens for the rest of the night in the hideout. The next day, they began to leave, heading towards the mountain while it rained again, limiting any distant vision. Let's go to the agreed places, he requested. There were 2 mountains, and before leaving the hideout, a meeting with the whole group was held, while Jiraiya asked everyone to position themselves as he waited for the signal. Minato and his group proceeded to one end of a mountain as soon as they verified that there were no aim enemies. They stayed there for a while, until a frog approached Jiraiya with a scroll, which he took from the frog's mouth and read. It seems that there are some AIM teams patrolling, so we must be careful. I'm going to need you, kid. Can you start what we agreed on? Jiraiya asked while Minato nodded. The next moment he pulled out a kunai with a seal, with a layer that protected it from the rainwater without destroying it, as he prepared in the next moment, throwing the kunai forward. It shot over the mountain like a bullet, as Minato had put more force than usual, quickly vanishing from everyone's sight as it sped forward. The kunai was launched and began to descend the next moment, falling down the mountain slope, passing all the enemy sentinels, without seeing the object embedding into the ground after a while falling. Minato appeared above it the next moment, as he grabbed the kunai and shot into the air. No one knew he could use Jeppo, so he waited to do this when he was alone, rising into the sky, gaining a good height while passing any patrol. Heading south, his mission given by Jiraiya after asking if he could manage, was to move forward while he had the advantage of teleporting with Raijin. Minato would be the person to identify the route of the sand team, since even though there was a group of leaf ambush, they could not communicate with the ambush group, but Minato was Jiraiya's wildcard, able to gather that information and return in an instant to the group. Chapter 114, Infiltration Mission 05. Third-person POV. Land of Rain, Year 36. The Sand Village group continued heading north, advancing toward the mountain. We're almost there, one of the ninjas from the group said. Let's stop. Another ordered, as the others nodded and stopped in an open part of the forest. Commander, what shall we do? One of the ninjas asked. Look at this map. We should bypass this mountain next to us. Our intelligence has informed us that there is a large group of AIM ninjas concentrated on the big rivers that split the mountain range we are approaching, he said, looking into the distance as the huge peaks began to appear on the horizon while the rain hindered their vision. Is there anything else we need to know, sir? Another ninja questioned as the commander nodded. Yes. Let's just be careful not to alert the AIM troops. Be aware of your surroundings. After all, our mission is top secret and we must deliver this scroll to our allies in the north. With it, we can finally create a force strong enough to attack Konoha, he spoke. We are already winning the war, sir. It's only a matter of time before Konoha falls, another murmured beside him. Yes, we are winning the war. But this is an opportunity to crush Konoha once and for all, the ninja spoke and continued. We have in this scroll the strategy of poison. If the Sand Village can also produce it, we will have the same advantage in the war, and it will end more easily. Don't forget that wars need money. The sooner we win it, the more profitable it will be for us, he said. After analyzing the situation, the man spoke again. Anyway, let's continue on the path. He gave the order and the entire group followed him. A while after the group disappeared, in that place, a new group emerged with 4 hooded ninjas wearing neutral masks with no symbols of the village they belonged to. These ninjas were ambush ninjas from Konoha, who were trailing the group. It looks like they're heading to the mountains further east. One of them said, looking ahead. Yes, we should make contact with some ninja from the ambush group that Konoha created, but we have no more news from them. Another spoke beside him. We will have to count on luck and try to warn them as soon as we approach the agreed upon location. As we passed to the Delta member, they referred to the ambush ninja who joined Jiraiya's group. A group of dozens of ambush ninjas was dispatched across all the battlefields of the war on every side of the country. They were dispatched for the collection of information, and to pass important things to the camps where the leaders could make wiser decisions during the conflict. This particular group was in the middle of the southern battlefield of the Rain Country. While collecting data from the Sand Village ninjas, they got the information of this poison stock to be passed to their allies and placed a team to follow them as soon as they headed north. The group sent one of them halfway to the northwest, who was the ninja that found Jiraiya to pass the information. Now they followed at a distance to provide support when the ambush happened and to keep an eye on their path. We also have to be careful not to get too close. There is a member of theirs with a sensor. The leader spoke while the others followed. Meanwhile, a few kilometers north from there, Minato stopped under a tree where he was sheltered from the rain. After all, he needed to concentrate, sitting in a lotus position and closing his eyes to focus. He did not send several clones around the region. After all, it was too risky for the ninjas to find them while his clones did not have the observation haki like the original possesses. He concentrated and this made his observation haki increase by 20%, its range reaching a great distance. He remained like this for a while. Finally, I found you. Minato murmured, detecting a group of 30 ninjas heading to the mountains further to the west, as he immediately disappeared, having felt that there was a sensor among the group. He reappeared a few kilometers away, having had to place several Raijin seals as he traveled here. This allowed him to return instantly, tracking the ninja's route precisely for the ambush. He started running west, disappearing into the rain, doing as before, waiting for the group of ninjas to appear so he could sense them once more and quickly disappear unnoticed. He did this one last time near the mountains before disappearing and reappearing amidst Jiraiya and the others. Minato, you've arrived, how did it go? Jiraiya asked immediately as Minato took out a scroll with the map of the region. I followed them at 3 points, didn't encounter any ambush groups, but they might be trailing the sand group since I didn't wait long and disappeared as soon as I sensed them, Minato began, and started to draw and trace a line on the map. This was their path. If everything is correct, they passed between 2 mountains west of the one we're on, Minato concluded, while Jiraiya nodded and stroked his chin with the information the boy had provided. Then let's notify the others. Jiraiya spoke and again summoned all the toads and began writing on a scroll before using the shadow clone jutsu on the object, and the toads each took a scroll before starting to run across the mountain. Let's focus on this point. Jiraiya spoke and placed his finger on a point Minato suggested on the route, and everyone nodded. The toads that Jiraiya summoned went to notify the other teams to meet at that same point. They headed to that place a while later, disappearing in the rain. Jiraiya's group appeared with some more Jonin members from other teams. It didn't take long for other ninjas to appear as well. While they waited. Let's wait. I placed some toads to alert me at the foot of the mountain, so get ready, Jiraiya advised as everyone nodded and searched for a dry place to finalize their last preparations. Minato. Hanabi approached Minato for a moment. Yes? Minato looked at her, puzzled. You told me that I would be a very powerful ninja with a bow. What could I do in a situation like this? Hanabi asked, thinking hard about what Minato had said at the camp many days ago. You must be joking, right? Minato laughed at the girl while she remained confused. She wanted to know if this style would be useful, but Minato realized at that moment that the girl wasn't thinking clearly about using a bow. "We're on top of a mountain, do you realize how lethal you could be?" he said. "If you have the Byakugan and master the wind element with a bow, you would be lethal even to a Kage below the mountain in an assassination attempt." Minato was sincere. He believed that a Hyuga clan ninja with a bow on the right element would be a dangerous long-distance assassin. "Do you really believe that?" Hanabi looked at him skeptically. "I'm sure. You have the Byakugan, your tool of precision, a bow as a weapon of attack, and the element to increase your penetration and power." Minato tried to explain. This could even be a bit dangerous for him, facing a ninja like that. He recognizes the danger, even having 3 ways out of such a situation, with his observation haki, his intangibility, and Raijin itself. Hanabi nodded after that and walked away from Minato to tend to her things. Minato watched her back and hoped that the girl would start to think better about it. It was good that she came to ask, it means she was interested. He found himself under a tree and waited for the moment to come, until he felt someone approaching him 10 minutes later. "Hello." He opened his eyes as the person with an older voice approached him, while he stared at this hooded man like him. "Good afternoon." Minato spoke from behind the mask. "Sorry to disturb you like this. I wanted to thank you." The ninja spoke while Minato was confused by these words. "You are Minato Namikaze, a young man with a bright future." He began with a nervous tone. "You know, I am thanking you because you saved my fiancé's brother when you fought against a group from the sand in the land of fire," he began. "What's his name?" Minato asked, still trying to remember whom he had saved. "Vayer Cole," he replied, and Minato finally remembered. It was the man who was fighting alongside an Uchiha and a Nara until they were struck and Minato had to intervene, fighting against an elite jonin from the sand. He managed to catch him off guard before taking him down with a Rasengan. "Yes, I remember him. He was out of action after getting injured on that mission. How is he?" He took the opportunity to ask. "He's fine, hasn't returned to the front lines yet, but he's okay. My fiancée was quite worried about her brother, so she is very happy that her brother returned alive in the last letters I read," he commented and continued. "Her brother wrote about you too, saying that a boy, being just a genin, helped and saved the team at the last moment and saw a great hero." He told Minato, who felt a bit embarrassed by these words. "Well, I just did my part for my fellow Kanahans," Minato said. "Anyway, I'm going to help keep you safe. After all, my fiancée would be very sad if the savior of her brother got hurt here," he said, also embarrassed. Minato just nodded without comment, though he knew how to take care of himself. Time passed while Minato was alone again until he heard his sensei's call. "Everyone." This made everyone immediately go to the main location. "My toads have detected the group. We're starting the ambush," Jiraiya announced as all 30 Konoha ninjas nodded. "Let's set some traps here, and it's very likely that AIM ninjas in the region will also be alerted by this, so our priority is to grab the scroll and take it to the land of fire, understood?" "Yes, Commander." They were finally about to begin the ambush. Chapter 115, Infiltration Mission 06. Third-person POV. Land of Rain, Year 36. The ninjas continued heading towards the mountain, remaining alert, unaware that they were already being watched by enemies they never imagined were there. "There are no AIM ninjas here. So, let's go through the middle of these mountains," the sand ninja spoke, leading the group as they passed through a dense forest at the foot of the 2 mountains. It was still raining heavily, and they couldn't see or sense the ninjas above one of the mountains. Meanwhile, at the top of the mountain, Hanabi was assisting Jiraiya to give the order at the right moment, while the girl had her Byakugan activated, seeing through the rain. "Remember, let me know when they reach the point I indicated on the map." Jiraiya spoke next to the girl, who nodded, looking down, her vision blurred due to the rain. "They're approaching," she said, and Jiraiya nodded, raising his hand, while a half-dozen ninjas with cloaks that had left the land of fire with the ANBU were prepared for the ambush. Some of these ninjas moved forward, starting to make hand signs. "They've entered the area," Hanabi said, and Jiraiya lowered his hand. The ninjas quickly finished their hand signs, creating a joint earth-style jutsu. Suddenly, a part of the mountain below them began to explode and start to fall as a large landslide. The ninjas below felt something strange and looked up immediately as they heard the explosive sound before noticing dirt, rocks, and trees falling towards them. Enemy attack! The leader shouted immediately as the group began to run away from the foot of the mountain, but this didn't prevent the first one from being crushed by a rock the size of a house falling on top of an unlucky one. Other rocks began to fall as the ninjas started to dodge quickly, but 2 others were crushed as well. The censor hadn't sensed anything because they were too far from his range, so this took them by surprise as more ninjas began to suffer with the landslide reaching the ground and making a sound that echoed throughout the region. 4 more ninjas were buried by the debris, and 3 more were crushed, eliminating at least 1/3 of the group. Yes! In the distance, the ANBU who were coming behind heard everything and quickly realized what it meant, while they ran towards that side. Other AIM ninjas also heard the sound echoing through the rain and saw a large smoke rising in the distance and began to run to the location. Damn! They discovered us and were waiting for an ambush, a sand ninja commented frustrated while the entire forest that was in front of him before was now buried under rocks and sand, along with 10 of their companions. Stop lamenting about it, just stay alert, the enemy is coming. The censor exclaimed as kunai started to come from his side and the ninjas began to defend against this attack while all the hooded Konoha ninjas jumped towards them, and quickly a battle started with the ninjas advancing with kunai. Damn, take the scroll away, one of the ninjas shouted, already knowing that this group was after the resources in the scroll and could only be a nation after them. Yes, sir. The 5 ninjas exclaimed as they began to move forward, trying to leave the battlefield, but the ANBU ninja landed, killing one of them. Damn Konoha ninja, die, he exclaimed as he attacked the ANBU. Minato appeared with his team, catching a sand ninja, while the others fought other ninjas, but despite the numerical advantage, Konoha did not come out without losses as some of their ninjas fell every moment. Minato used his Raijin and eliminated 2 more on his own while some of the ninjas began to flee, and Minato, already prepared for this, disappeared, appearing on the path where he would flee. He had thrown some kunai at the foot of the mountain, hoping this might happen, but he had to be careful. After all, he had already used his Raijin before to cover the distance while monitoring the group before informing Jiraiya. The ANBU ninjas also appeared, and the battle tipped even more in Konoha's favor as the sand ninjas were caught from behind. There were 3 ninjas fleeing with the scroll as they moved away from the area, throwing explosive tags on the ground and detonating the area as they advanced to hinder their pursuers. They were surprised when a small hooded man with a mask appeared in front of them, throwing kunai with what they thought were explosive tags. Minato appeared in midair as the kunai neared, breaking one of their necks with a kick. Damn it! One of the ninjas threw a kunai while Minato easily defended himself and advanced towards the ninja, clashing their kunai together and causing sparks to fly in the midst of the rain. The ninja dueling with Minato looked at his companion in the distance. This mission has failed, you have to destroy the scroll. The ninja exclaimed to his companion, who had no choice but to take the scroll in one hand and attach an explosive tag with the other. But he noticed something at the last moment as the same hooded figure fighting his companion descended from the sky and kicked him in the neck just like the last one. Damn it! The ninja realized he was actually fighting a clone of Minato, while the original was hovering in the sky with Jeppo, waiting for a moment to strike. He saw his kunai being cut by the enemy's kunai, which was imbued with lightning, and then felt his heart being pierced in the next moment. What? He looked at his body bleeding, the lightning coursing through him, blood pouring from his mouth before he fell dead to the ground. His clone saw this as the blade stopped sparking. It's still very difficult to maintain this lightning chakra embedded in the weapon, you need to train a lot more. The clone spoke to the original Minato, who nodded, watching him disappear in a puff of smoke. Minato had been training to imbue lightning chakra into weapons, practicing it for months with clones, but it was still somewhat difficult to maintain. He knew he needed to learn even more. Naruto turned his attention to the 3 ninjas he had killed. On one hand, he had completed his mission, but war was cruel, and he had been taking lives recently. He could imagine that these ninjas also had their own lives, like the ninja who had approached him some time ago to talk about his sister. But he quickly brushed off this thought and picked up the scroll from the ground, also disposing of the bodies quickly. 2 ANBU ninjas appeared. You got them, they said, surprised to see the hooded boy with 3 dead ninjas, 2 of them jonin and 1 shunin. Yes, he replied after everything was set, and he advanced to the area of the main fight. The battle had already ended, with most of the sand ninjas dead and some captured, being placed in frogs by Jiraiya to be sent to the camps for interrogation. "Are you both okay?" Minato approached Hanabi and Makoto, the latter having a small cut on her arm. "Yes, just a scratch," Makoto said. Minato had left a clone to help them, but they had to face a difficult ninja, and the arrival of the ANBU had helped them deal with it. "That's good. I got the scroll," Minato said and moved towards Jiraiya, who was talking with the ANBU and some ninjas. "Is there nothing we can do for him?" Jiraiya said to someone fallen. Minato approached and was surprised by the man in the cloak who came to speak with him. "Minato," the ninja spoke with difficulty when he saw the boy. He was bleeding with a cut chest, probably having injuries to many vital organs. "Tell my sister. Tell her I died as a true Konoha ninja," he exclaimed, while everyone followed his gaze to Minato, who looked wide-eyed at him. Minato hadn't imagined seeing someone he had met not long ago, dying this way, asking for a last wish in his final moments. "Yes," Minato murmured, watching the ninja nod and start to stop breathing as he died there, eyes open. He didn't say anything else as he handed the scroll to Jiraiya and walked away, with Jiraiya watching him with concern. "What are we seeing?" a distant voice asked as they reached the peak of one of the mountains. "Ninjas, there was an ambush. It seems a group was heading north." A masked ninja using a magnifying glass looked through it, seeing despite the rain. "They are probably Konoha ninjas, and they ambushed sand ninjas if we deduce that they came from the south, but it's quite surprising. How did they make an ambush in our territory and know about a group of foreign ninjas before even we did?" Another ninja murmured, looking through his magnifying glass. "Remember that they left tracks. We received reports that traps were detonated near here and 2 teams disappeared without a trace," another ninja in the group said. "What should we do?" "They are probably after some storage scroll that these southern ninjas brought," he commented. "Let's inform Hanzo-sama. Meanwhile, we'll keep an eye on them from a distance. There are likely many sensors among them for them to get here unseen," he advised, and some of the ninjas disappeared from the spot, heading north with the intention of informing their leader about the situation. Meanwhile, Jiraiya gathered everyone. "We did the easy part, now we must leave this country, and they're probably already trying to find us." The commander spoke to the 20 of the 26 ninjas remaining, with many falling in this mission despite taking down 20 and losing 6 Konoha comrades. There were also the 5 ANBU there. "We're already being watched," Minato's voice said in a neutral tone, standing behind the group with his companions looking at him with some concern. "Are you sure?" Jiraiya asked, and Minato nodded while the rest of the ninjas were confused, as they couldn't feel anything that Minato had mentioned. Minato couldn't see from where or who was doing it, but the sensation of being watched was there the entire time. "Well, this is even worse than I imagined. Our main objective now is to head east and get the scroll to the camp," Jiraiya said. "I have a plan, so I want you to split up. We'll form teams through the south and center of the rain country. We must be careful of the ninjas and the large water flow at a distance. That's why I intend to create a distraction while you pass through the southern area." "Understood?" Jiraiya spoke. His plan was to get these ninjas safely to their border, so he had to create a different tactic from the last one, as it wouldn't work anymore. "Let's begin," he said as they organized themselves. Jiraiya approached Minato. "I want you to take this scroll to the other side." "You can cover that distance?" Jiraiya asked, as Minato was his ace to safely get the scroll to the other side. "Yes." Minato replied, knowing that this scroll was the objective of the entire mission and why the Konoha ninjas died for it, "but I will take Makoto and Hanabi with me." He spoke as his companions were just genin on a very dangerous mission, and Jiraiya nodded while they said nothing. "And one more thing, I intend to return, so I want you to keep my seal." Minato stated his last requirement, and Jiraiya agreed in the end. Chapter 116, Infiltration Mission 07. Third-person POV. Land of Rain, Year 36. In a city where rain dominated most days, its towers were colossal, filled with pipe structures and buildings crisscrossed by pipes. This place was also known as Aim, the capital of this country. While everything seemed ordinary, a man in one of the main towers, surrounded by guards bearing the symbol of Aim, sat drinking tea. This man was also known to the world as the current god of shinobis, and he was sipping his drink while looking at the map of the country. Hanzo was not having an easy time, even for someone considered the strongest. Facing three nations was a huge pressure and he had to be careful. After all, even he could fall against so many enemies, despite his title. His gaze fell on a point where the main forces of the three nations surrounding him and the main activities of the enemy within his country were located. Hanzo was about to refill his cup again when a ninja, much like the Umbu, entered the room while he watched. Hanzo-sama. Report from the far west of the country. He spoke respectfully. Proceed. Hanzo requested, as there wasn't much activity in this area with his current map, wondering what it could be. Sand Village forces and Konoha forces are within our country while Konoha has set up an ambush to catch them, the ninja reported, with some ninjas coming from the mountain range a few days ago. The Leaf Village and the Sand Village are fighting here, Hanzo murmured thoughtfully. I see, they think they can already do whatever they want in this country. It's time for me to start acting and show why I am so feared. Hanzo said, standing up to put the map aside. You will act, Hanzo-sama. The ninjas murmured. Yes. I will be heading south. He said. Prepare the troops, I am going with an escort group. Thus, Hanzo would make his first move. Meanwhile, at the border of the Land of Fire, in the northernmost camp at the border, a figure appeared near the camp while Minato had a Raijin seal on a tree there. Not only did he appear with a flash, but Hanabi and Makoto came along with him, as he immediately fell to the ground with almost no chakra reserves at the moment. This was the craziest thing I've ever done, Minato murmured. He was 11 years old, but his chakra, despite being large, hadn't developed for him to bring two people and travel hundreds of kilometers, so it was hard for him to do this while maintaining much chakra. Are you okay? Hanabi asked with a concerned look at Minato, and he sighed a little before returning to breathe calmly. I just need to rest a bit, Minato murmured. He looked towards the camp in front of him. It seems that no sentinel noticed our sudden appearance here, so let's move on, he said, heading to the camp. They entered the camp without any problems. As they headed for the command tent, with Jonins replacing Jiraiya while Jiraiya continued in the Land of Rain. You, are Commander Jiraiya's students? The guards in front of the tent quickly recognized the three. Yes, we're back from the mission. We need to report this to the current commander. Minato addressed him while a Jonin who lived alongside Jiraiya in command of the camp appeared outside the tent after hearing the conversation. Here. Minato wasted no time and handed 2 scrolls to the man, still somewhat confused because the children were here without anyone having reported their arrival. After all, they should have been in another country on an important mission. He took one of the scrolls, which contained Jiraiya's written order, while he began to read all the instructions and understand them in quite a surprise. Incredible. The man had to admit, regarding the manufacturing of the poison that was causing many victims in the southern region. I want a high-level team here for an S-level escort to the medical camp, he ordered, and the ninjas there nodded and left the place. The man watched the ninjas disappearing before turning back to Minato and the others. You can go rest, we'll take care of the rest, he said as Minato and the others nodded. What are we going to do now? Makoto asked as they were heading back to their tents. I need to recover my strength. I will be going back to help Jiraiya-sensei, Minato spoke. Makoto and Hanabi remained silent, but they were frustrated inside due to their inability to be as strong as Minato, who always took on the most dangerous tasks, leaving them behind. Everything has its time, keep training. Soon you'll be at the rank of a Jonin, Minato commented, seemingly reading their minds, not letting them get too down. Yes, Hanabi commented while Makoto remained silent. But they were still a bit frustrated. You know you might have changed the course of an entire war, right? So don't be too hard on yourself, Minato commented again. They just nodded, and Minato went to sleep after meditating for a bit, but still with dark thoughts about what had happened, the scrolls, the bodies, and that ninja who had talked to him cheerfully just before dying, leaving a bitter feeling for Minato. Maybe I'm being a hypocrite too. Minato couldn't help but think, since he had taken countless lives as well, leaving many people without relatives. But there's nothing I can do. Minato was just a young boy in the middle of a war he had no power to change, so all he could do was try to bring victory to Konoha and protect those close to him. His thoughts soon drifted away as he fell asleep, waking up a few hours later and getting out of bed. He left the tent and noticed that Makoto and Hanabi were not there. It was early morning by this time and he had slept for at least 12 hours, due to mental stress more than exhaustion from lack of chakra. He sensed with his haki that his companions were training near the camp, together. Let's go. Minato sighed and headed to the main tent, as he needed to inform them of his departure, while also preparing his items for the journey. He approached the main tent again while the men called the Jonin commander. Hello, boy. Jiraiya isn't here yet, but I want to thank you, he spoke, also understanding from Jiraiya's letter that this young man mastered an S-rank jutsu at such a young age, which made him a key player in bringing the scroll to the camp safely and quickly. You will help save many lives, he said, and Minato nodded. I am returning to the land of rain, so I just came to inform you, Minato spoke, and the man, although frowning, nodded, due to Jiraiya's instruction to allow him to return. Alright, good luck and bring the Konoha ninjas back safely, he said, and Minato nodded, disappearing the next moment. He suddenly felt the change in the environment, making the place rainy. However, it was not just that, as his haki immediately alerted him to danger while the field around him was in chaos. Jiraiya-sensei? Minato murmured, looking around at the place full of holes, near the large water flow of the huge river that passed between the mountains. Jiraiya had said he would lead a distraction while the rest of the teams passed through the south. There were ninjas from AIM scattered and fallen on the ground, many of them staring at him in surprise, while Jiraiya was near Minato with a tired look. You came at a bad time, boy, Jiraiya spoke, looking at Minato with some concern. Minato turned his attention to where his haki showed danger, and in the middle of the battlefield, as several AIM ninjas were prepared to attack Jiraiya, a huge salamander was there, while a man in the same uniform as the other ninjas, but clearly more distinguished, was on top of the creature. Hanzo? Minato murmured, surprised by the presence of this man there, while the man curiously looked at the child next to Jiraiya. Where did this child come from? He couldn't help but comment while looking at Minato with a raised eyebrow. Sensei, we need to get out of here, Minato spoke. Yes. Jiraiya spoke as Minato touched him. Hanzo realized they were about to do something to escape and immediately summoned his salamander's tongue, shooting it at high speed towards them, hitting them the next moment. The ground exploded, lifting up the entire area, while Hanzo looked at the destruction, frowning. They escaped. How did this happen? He couldn't help but murmur, realizing that the boy had some special jutsu that allowed him to escape. They escaped. Hanzo said to his men, noting the absence of Minato and Jiraiya nearby. It was a quite intriguing fight I had with Jiraiya of Konoha. He said, after all, they had had a powerful battle, but Jiraiya ultimately could not defeat him. However, that boy. He murmured before returning to his men. I want that boy marked. I want all the information we have on him and anything he does in this war. Hanzo couldn't help but be intrigued by that jutsu. Meanwhile, far from there, Minato and Jiraiya appeared next to a tree, while Jiraiya was having some difficulty breathing at that moment. You saved me, boy. He couldn't help but comment. Why was that guy there? Minato couldn't help but ask, curious. I don't know. As I had planned, my plan was to draw as many AIM ninjas to me as possible, and I summoned Gamabunta. But then Hanzo himself showed up, and while I was maintaining control of the situation, he quickly destroyed it and we had a fight. I never imagined I would lose so badly to that guy. No wonder he deserves the title he has today. Jiraiya commented while Minato nodded, though he was thoughtful. Anyway, the Konoha ninjas should be heading to the border in the next few days without much pursuit. He said. Shall we return, sensei? Minato asked, waiting for him to recover a bit. Yes, we have nothing else to do now and we now have the scroll, Jiraiya said. Minato nodded as they rested a bit with Jiraiya. They stayed about 4 hours in the same spot before Minato disappeared with his sensei, returning to the ninja camp. Chapter 117, The Chase Begins. Third-person POV. Land of Rain, Year 36. After appearing quite far from Hanzo, they were able to easily return to the border as they chose not to use Minato's Raijin, while they waited to see some fleeing teams. They finally encountered a few groups along the way and returned unseen to the border outpost. Finally, we've arrived. Jiraiya commented as a group of ninjas came to greet them. There were 9 members from other teams with them and 2 ambus, while the other 3 ambus stayed behind to assist the other teams. Commander Jiraiya. The ninjas greeted them as Jiraiya returned to his men and student. You can rest, we'll talk later. He requested as everyone nodded, going to rest. Minato went to a free tent and waited until a jonin appeared with Jiraiya requesting his presence. You can return to the camp, I'll stay a bit longer to organize and wait for the other teams to return. Jiraiya spoke as soon as they were alone. You don't need to put ninjas to escort me, I can return instantly from here without any problems. Minato spoke while Jiraiya nodded. Alright, you can go back. But before, thank you for saving me in such a difficult moment. Jiraiya spoke, looking at Minato with a feeling of gratitude. You not only saved me but ensured the mission was a success. He spoke and Minato nodded. But before you go, I know that one of our comrades' deaths affected you a bit. I want you to know what I said last time to you, we just can't let them be in vain, we'll honor that they died for some reason, understand? Jiraiya spoke while Minato nodded with those words, knowing his sensei just wanted to help him, and in a way, Minato knew that death is a common thing and would even be while the war continues, probably not being the last of the deaths he would see on the battlefield. Minato bid farewell to Jiraiya the next moment, as he disappeared, having no more to do there, returning to his tent. He felt that the girls continued training elsewhere. Then he went to rest a bit. A month had passed since then, with Jiraiya returning a few days ago. Unfortunately, not all teams returned from the Land of Rain, with 2 of them missing. No one knows what happened. Everything had returned to normal after that, while Jiraiya continued commanding the camp, but things were not easy with the camp, as the stone ninjas continued advancing and being quite aggressive exclusively towards Jiraiya's camp in the north. Maybe it was the discovery by the Konoha ninjas anticipating the Sand group, no one knows, but it was the fact that Jiraiya's camp was receiving numerous attacks caught at the border, with ninjas trying to infiltrate. Minato continued with his team doing basic tasks while they kept careful of loading and responsible for passing information. But Team 7 did not go out beyond the border anymore, with them remaining only on these small missions. So you're leaving? Minato was at that moment in the medical camp in the central area of the border. Yes, we're leaving in 2 days, my mother is making the last preparations to return to Konoha, my father should arrive soon. Suna spoke to Minato as he nodded. He came to do a small delivery mission, and as he had his unique jutsu, he ended up coming alone after offering. He knew about Tsunade and her family's departure to Konoha and wanted to see her. He also wanted to send a message to Kushina. And how are things? He asked. It had been weeks since they had seen each other, and they hadn't been able to talk due to the whole camp working on curing the poison from the sand village. We were supposed to have gone to Konoha earlier, but thanks to the mission you had success in infiltrating the Land of Rain, we finally found a solution to end the event. You played a big role from what I heard. She commented with a smile to him. Well, I didn't do much here. He commented, after all, many ninjas from the team helped. You must be joking. I heard that you personally grabbed the scroll and brought it back safely without needing to pass through the entire country with my great-uncle's brother's jutsu. She commented. Well, I guess that was the minimum. He murmured. You are so modest, Minato. People are noticing what you're doing. Rumors are even emerging in my camp about a boy who can teleport and change location with an instant jutsu. Suna commented. I hope those rumors don't go too far. After all, I believe we're suffering attacks from the Stone Village, because of me. He said, aware that their recent total attacks on Jiraiya's camp weren't just because it was in the far north. You should be transferred from this frontier if that's the case. Suna commented softly. Jiraiya-sensei believes that if they find out I'm elsewhere, Stone would send information about me, and that would make more enemies target me. He said. Just protect yourself, you know. She commented with a slight blush, looking at the water flowing in front of them. Yes. Minato murmured and changed the subject. How are things here? He wanted to know about the results of the antidotes created by Tsunade. My mother proved to be very effective. She has everything ready for them to prepare the cure en masse to distribute with the teams in the south. We might turn this war in our favor now, and my mother has an idea. She commented, and Minato looked at her. What would that be? He asked. She said she's going to talk to the Hokage. She has a project to place at least one medic among all the teams. She believes this could help reduce the mortality that occurs in the war and turn the tide. She commented and Minato nodded. She's not wrong, after all, the war was turned around like this and Konoha won in the end. But it's still very early. I thought it would take a while and I even intended to help her if I had many achievements in this war. Minato thought. That's an excellent idea. I believe in your mother. Minato said at the end. You think so too? I said the same to her and my father also agrees, saying he will support her. Suna said with a radiant smile. Yes, I hope she succeeds. He said. And how are your exploding tag sales going? I also heard a rumor about a boy getting rich in this war, producing exploding tags every day and making a lot of money from it in Konoha. She commented. Yes, I'm doing very well, but not enough. After all, I want to buy a large piece of land in Konoha. So I need money both for the lot and for construction, and I intend to make a huge place. Minato said with a dreamy tone, thinking about his future. Are you going to establish your own clan, the Kamikaze clan of Konoha? She asked, laughing at him. Yes, does that sound good? He asked, scratching his head a bit embarrassed to talk about himself like that. It's good. Since your family needs to carry on your name. She commented softly with a new blush on her face. But that's for many years, after all I'm only 11 years old now. Minato laughed and Suna nodded. I think you're right. Anyway, it's time to go back, my mother needs me for some things. Suna commented and Minato nodded. Before you go, can you deliver a scroll to Kushina? Minato asked as he took the item out of his pocket. Yes, of course. Suna said, but seemed a bit bitter about it. She took the scroll nonetheless. I'll be going, bye. She quickly said goodbye, and Minato could detect a touch of upset in her voice as she ran to the scroll. Was she jealous? Minato murmured, but unable to do anything about it. After all, he had to write to Kushina whenever he could. With nothing else to do, he simply disappeared, returning to the camp. Minato then went to his comrades while they were training. Hello, may I join you? Minato approached. Yes, do you want to practice taijutsu? Mikoto asked. Yes. Minato agreed, but couldn't help glancing at Hanabi reading a scroll in a corner. I thought you had already memorized everything about the elements you're studying. He commented. She's studying something else, medical ninjutsu. Mikoto said, and Minato raised his eyes to Hanabi, focused on studying what she was reading. She started this after we returned from the land of rain. She said she wanted to be more useful, so she believes learning ninjutsu is a good way to help our team. Mikoto spoke again, seeing Minato deep in thought. I understand, that's good, after all, we need someone with that capability on the team. Minato commented, agreeing with Mikoto's decision. He and Mikoto had a joint training session while he left his clones creating more exploding tags on the side. As the end of the afternoon arrived, Minato, Mikoto, and Hanabi returned to the camp. Minato went to the main tent and was greeted by Jiraiya, who asked about his messenger mission and took his set of exploding tags as he always produces, and then left soon after, going to eat something with the girls and returning to his duties at the camp tomorrow. Everything seemed normal, until the next day, something happened, with Minato waking up to a loud explosion near the camp. He quickly left his tent with the girls also emerging from theirs, and didn't waste time going to check what had happened, approaching and seeing Jiraiya with a bunch of jonin in a hole created by jutsus. How did they get past our defenses? Jiraiya asked the jonins who were acting as sentinels. We don't know, we lost contact with the teams from the north, Sir Commander. The jonin spoke. Are you saying they came from the north, like the grass country? Jiraiya raised an eyebrow as the ninja there nodded. Yes, Sir Commander. It's very likely that they came from that direction, he said, and Jiraiya frowned, now having to worry about the grass country to the north of there, which directly connects to the earth country as well. Minato approached calmly, listening to Jiraiya and another ninja talking. Jiraiya turned his attention to the boy at that moment, sighing. The stone ninjas had never come so close to the camp, which was a very bad situation for them. Meeting in my tent in an hour, clean up this mess and store the bodies, Jiraiya commanded as he walked, turning to Minato. Come with me, kid, he said, and Minato nodded. Jiraiya would have a serious talk about the boy needing to take care of himself all the time, as he had already confirmed that the stone village was exclusively targeting his camp because Minato was their target. The stone ninjas seemed very determined to kill him. Chapter 118. Third-person POV. Land of Rain, Year 36. The months passed at the camp, and the next year began, marking year 37 since the founding of Konoha. Things remained tense at the camp. While Minato helped here and there with his team on basic tasks, Jiraiya had to call for reinforcements to the north due to enemies starting to attack from that side. Minato also spent his time training with his team and was mastering everything that Mito had passed on to him for training. It was an unimaginable treasure he had in his hands, deepening everything he could learn in his life. He would have Kushina to assist him later, but that didn't mean it was something more valuable than anything else he had ever gained in life. Speaking of Mito, it had been months since Tsuna had left with his family for Konoha, spending a few months there, and they should be returning soon, which means that Mito was already dead at this exact moment, and Kushina had become the Jinchuriki of Kurama. I hope the Senju family takes care of her during these first months, Minato murmured as he drank tea in his tent, surrounded by scrolls unrolled around the place, while he studied and practiced the Fuinjutsu he was learning. It was a bit difficult for him, but he had a talent for it, maybe not like the ones he has with ninjutsu, but certainly far superior. Next to the tent, there were 3 clones constantly training to mold chakra, while another 30 clones were producing bomb papers. His original self alternated between studying Fuinjutsu scrolls and training with the girls. Makoto was specializing in ninjutsu, and she was starting to show some progress with the lightning nature, but it was still very difficult for an element with which she had no affinity. Hanabi had started to study medical ninjutsu, and Minato managed, with one of his many favors he had accumulated by doing tasks for the camps, to find a good medical ninja at the central camp who could train Hanabi, and she began her training in this area, showing a certain talent for it. Minato was studying when he looked up, feeling the memory of a clone disappearing into him, as Jiraiya summoned him to the main tent. You can put all this away, I'm going to see what sensei wants, Minato said as the clones nodded, coming out of their meditation, while they organized the scrolls. He went to the location, greeted by ninjas along the way. Minato had done quite striking things on that mission months ago, and the rumors spread like fire. It also helped that he was the student commander of the camp, with the ninjas always seeing him together with Jiraiya. And to think it's already been half a year since I left Konoha to come here, and 8 months since we left the academy, Minato murmured, feeling like the academy had ended just yesterday. Come in, boy, Commander Jiraiya asked to see you immediately, said the ninja at the entrance as Minato entered the tent. Jiraiya was talking with 3 ninjas. As soon as Minato was noticed by the 4, they all looked at him, but the 3 ninjas frowned as soon as they saw him, making Minato wonder what was happening there. You can leave, Jiraiya suddenly said. The ninjas nodded quickly and started to leave the tent without giving Minato a curious glance. What was that about? Minato looked strangely at this and turned back to Jiraiya wanting to understand what was going on. It seems my suspicions were correct, Jiraiya began without directly answering Minato. There was another attack with ninjas trying to pass the outpost in the rain country. They gave up trying something from the north this time, he said. What does that mean? Minato still didn't understand. They were elite ninjas. They eliminated many of our ninjas as soon as they were discovered and caused chaos on that side. I'll have to go there personally later today, but why I am telling you this? Jiraiya picked up a piece of paper with a hand-drawn painting of his own appearance on it, spiked blonde hair and blue eyes, all hand-drawn. So I'm the target. Minato murmured. Yes. Jiraiya admitted reluctantly. What do you plan to do? Minato asked. As I suspected, all these months of attacks were because of you, I just hadn't confirmed it until today. Jiraiya said, putting away the drawn portrait and looking at Minato. I'm going to ask you to stay away from this camp for some time, Jiraiya decided. What? Minato looked surprised but sighed in the end, understanding what his sensei wanted to do. It was even better for the camp. I know you will be separated for a while, but it will be better this way, both for you and for the camp itself, Jiraiya said. After all, they might catch the attention of the stone ninjas. I can participate in offensive missions in other camps. This will make them see me in other places more quickly, Minato suggested. Jiraiya seemed a bit thoughtful about that. I'll think about it. Now I need you to take this to some of the camps around the ones that are around the medical one, he continued. Here is also a transfer order. You will stay 1 month in each of some of the camps, Jiraiya said. I understand. Minato said, although he was interested at the same time in meeting other people from the camps. Will Hanabi and Makoto be alright? He asked seriously. Yes, I'll take care of those kids, you don't need to worry about that, Jiraiya said as. Minato nodded and said goodbye to Jiraiya, before returning to his tent to get ready to leave the following morning. The girls met with him later. While they seemed surprised by the news, they understood. Can't we go with him, sensei? Makoto asked Jiraiya, who had just joined them. They could, but it will be safer for both. After all, the sand ninjas might be gathering information. He said, admitting that the attacks on this camp were due to Minato's presence. It's okay, we will be together again soon, Minato said with a smile. When we meet again, we will be much stronger, Hanabi commented with a rare shy smile. That's good. Minato nodded with a glow of pride. They continued talking until late, and Hanabi and Makoto went to their tents, while Jiraiya stayed alone with Minato. You know, what is the reason I'm sending you there besides your safety? Jiraiya suddenly said as they looked at the fire. I don't know very well yet, but I have some suspicions. After all, you could have sent the girls with me. Minato said, and Jiraiya nodded. You're right, after all, I want you to do some missions in other camps to better understand the structure of a war. I'm sure that will help you a lot in the future, in case Konoha returns to a war after this one, Jiraiya said, placing great trust in Minato's future. Yes, I think I can understand. Sensei. Minato murmured. That's good. Jiraiya said, and they said goodbye. The next morning, Minato took down his tent and went with a group of jonin carrying some high-value reports to another camp, heading in that direction. They headed to a camp not so far north and arrived at the place. It wasn't much different from Jiraiya's camp, but it had a more aggressive way of acting than the espionage camp Jiraiya maintained under control. They arrived like any other troop, while Minato followed the jonins to the leaders of the camp. They didn't take long to enter the place, and a man with a scar running between his eyes received them while he was at a table reading reports, his gaze returning upward to the newcomers. So you are from the northern camp. Brought some new news? He murmured as one of the ninjas handed him the scroll, which he began to take before starting to read it. I see. Those damn stone ninjas are trying to invade the place, and the suspicion is. He spoke until he stopped, before returning his gaze from the scroll to the blonde among the ninja. Minato remained silent as the ninja scrutinized him there. Finally, he stopped staring without saying anything and went back to reading the rest of the scroll. All right. I have all the information I need here. You can go back if you don't want to stay, but the boy stays, he said as the ninjas nodded before Minato was left alone with this man. I heard rumors of a child who could cast an S-rank jutsu in recent months, but I dismissed it. However, your sensei informed me of your ability and that the mist ninjas are after you. He asked that if I could immerse you in high-risk missions. He assured me that you always stand out, and you are here to divert the focus from the stone ninjas, he murmured. How old are you? He asked. 11 years old, Minato said. These kids are growing up so fast these days. He murmured softly, you will have a place next to the camp. I will ask a ninja to accompany you. You will have to help the camp, and if I need you, you will be called, understood? He spoke and Minato nodded. So it's a pleasure, Minato Namikaze, you can call me Commander Janto. I will be your supervisor while you are in this camp. Minato followed a man requested by the commander after saying goodbye and spent some time setting up his tent. After it was ready, he decided to study for the rest of the day, which was already ending, but he couldn't study Fuinjutsu for long because at that moment, someone appeared in front of his tent blocking the entire entrance. You really are here, Minato? It was none other than Choza Akimichi, and Minato could already feel the presence of Shikaku and Inoichi outside. Only Choza was bold enough to show up here. So, we meet again. Minato knew he would encounter them here at some point. After all, he had already bumped into them in this camp when he came to deliver some supplies. Minato. Choza didn't wait for Minato to properly greet them and looked at him with a certain gleam in his eye. Can you prepare something for us to eat? He almost salivated as he requested, and Minato, already expecting something like this from him, sighed. Alright, but go catch some fish or something to eat, Minato said, stepping out of the tent with Choza and looking at the rest of the team while greeting them with a small smile. It's good to see you, Minato said. Look at you, a posture of the genius from the rumors running through the camps. Are you going to stay here? Shikaku asked with a raised eyebrow. It looks like it. I will stay a month or a bit more than that here, Minato commented, and although Shikaku found this very incomplete and full of suspicions, he barely had time to react as Choza caught him and Inoichi by surprise and dragged them into the forest. Let's go. He's going to cook for us, but we need to catch something for him to make. His food is 1,000 times better than the camp's. He exclaimed and dragged his two dazed companions into the forest. Chapter 119. New Poison. Third-person POV. Land of Rain, Year 36. It was a dark and cloudy time. While everything seemed ordinary in the middle of the forest, a squirrel calmly gnawed on a nut until its gaze turned towards one side of the forest and it seemed frightened by something, fleeing soon after. For a moment before it left, a flash passed through the trees carrying a large figure in its wake. Not just one, but 5 more appeared with several others holding something big. These ninjas were from the sand, using their puppets as they continued to flee from their pursuers. They're close, exclaimed a ninja just behind. The sand ninjas, seeing them, quickly had their puppets open their compartments, mouths, and point their hands, launching a rain of kunais. Dodge, shouted the follower as his group quickly began to scatter to avoid the attack, hiding behind trees or ducking down. Damn it, we won't be able to chase them like this, exclaimed one of the Konoha ninjas. But as they waited for the enemy to stop attacking, somewhat frustrated as they were getting further away, a blur passed openly through the area, while a Konoha ninja with low build began to pass through all the kunais, dodging even in midair, due to his high speed of thinking and reaction, while he just saw the kunais coming in slow motion and felt their trajectory without even looking. He quickly began to advance. Go, Lumum! Get them! The captain exclaimed as the small ninja quickly moved forward. There's one of them very persistent, shouted one of the sand ninjas. We can't keep running forever, it's time to see if this really works, one of them said and stopped running while preparing on top of a tree, while his puppet pointed towards that incoming ninja. It again launched kunais, this time with a purple liquid, while the other comrades did the same. Lumum quickly advanced, taking cover behind a tree, while they continued running until exposed again, dodging projectiles in a rather abnormal way. How does he move so fast and predict all our attacks? One of the sand ninjas shouted, somewhat surprised. Let's attack him, exclaimed another, and 3 ninjas rushed towards the approaching boy. Their puppets created claws on their hands, while the same liquid from the kunais appeared on their tips. The Konoha ninja threw some kunais, with the puppets blocking some, while one passed going towards the group of sand ninja who stayed behind. The Konoha ninja found himself surrounded by the puppets a moment later as they were already poised to attack. Just as the blades inches away from the ninja, with the ninjas finally waiting to finish off that ninja holding the puppets at a distance, but the next moment, the ninjas simply disappeared. He reappeared above the ninjas who ignored the kunai passing through them, and they were just surprised by the ninjas' disappearance before feeling a shadow over them. What? The ninjas controlling the puppets exclaimed, seeing the ninja simply appear on the other side of their group, and that ninja created a gigantic Udama Rasengan, with them putting the puppets in front, but that didn't prevent them from being destroyed in the next moment and catching 3 of them at once while the other 2 managed to escape. We have to kill him, one of the front ninjas with the puppets that missed Minato exclaimed. I doubt you can. The voice of the Konoha ninja emerged as he disappeared from the destruction in front of him, and he used one of the kunais rebounded with strange symbols on it, reappearing and eliminating one of the ninjas, causing his puppet to simply fall the next moment. How is he doing this? The sand ninjas exclaimed, but they didn't have much time to think while they distanced themselves from Minato, because they stopped blocking the path for the rest of the Konoha ninjas, and half a dozen jonin appeared by his side, while they had to split their attention with these ninjas. Lumum didn't lag behind. While continuing to assist the team, he managed to put them in a position where it was much easier to defeat the sand ninjas. While none of the Konoha ninjas were lost this time, but there was one with a cut with that purple liquid on his shoulder, and his skin began to darken. After some time, they had finally dealt with the entire group, capturing 3 sand people. This hurts so much, exclaimed the Konoha ninja, clutching his shoulder and gritting his teeth. Do you think you can capture us, Konoha ninjas? One of the sand ninjas growled at them while the other 3 had fierce faces. Say whatever you want, now you are captured and will be taken for interrogation, one of the jonin ninjas spoke to the 3. The ninjas soon saw a change in them, with their skins turning dark. They poisoned themselves. Lumum commented, seeing that there was nothing more to be done as they began to die. Do you really think we're not prepared for this? We'd rather die than give up our village's information. Your ninja there will die slowly while screaming in pain, the ninja exclaimed as his skin turned so dark that he began to fall dead along with the others. It seems they had some amount of poison stored in their mouths. The ninja who was the squad leader commented. He sighed and continued. There's nothing to be done about this, let's just take their bodies and puppet. We also need to expedite our return to see if we can counteract the poison our comrade received. He finished. Lumum went to the puppets and began storing them in his scrolls until they finally cleared the entire area. Now let's head back to the border, the leader requested, and they quickly started advancing eastward. They were in the land of rain, in the central area, facing both rock and sand ninjas. This group had a particular mission, which was to intercept a sand group that ANBU intelligence had reported while investigating the activities of other nations. There was a rumor that the sand village was creating a new poison, while the old poison from months ago had finally been neutralized, even without Tsunade's presence in the war at the moment. But upon seeing this, the sand village was not satisfied and began producing an even more powerful poison last month, with ANBU seeing some reports of testing by enemy ninjas. This was one of the first real field tests, as the sand ninjas came to execute, but were intercepted by the team that had been tracking them before they could do anything against the unsuspecting ninjas. They returned to the camp after passing through an outpost, approaching one of the camps in the middle of the border. Lumum, thanks for your work, you really helped us, one of the ninjas said as they jumped between the trees and passed by leaf sentinels in the forest. Lumum just nodded. He's right, you really helped us with this, I hope we can work together again, another ninja said. I'll be waiting for a summons then, Lumum said with an almost childish tone. That will happen when there's another mission of this level. After all, the boy has proven to be as strong and useful as the rumors said the ninja who led the group. We need to hurry, he doesn't look good at all. One of the ninjas jumping between the trees carried the Konoha ninja marked with poison, and he didn't seem to be doing well. They quickly arrived at the camp. I want you to take the ninja and some of the things we collected to the medical camp. I want some reports, and that includes you, Lumum. The ninja who was responsible for leadership spoke as everyone quickly organized themselves, splitting into a team that would take the ninja and many samples of the poisons in the puppets for the doctors to study, while the rest stayed to write the reports. While the squad leader ninja went to talk to the leader of that camp they arrived at, Lumum and the others picked a tent to write their mission views to record them. After that, Lumum was called to the main tent. You are dismissed and can return to your camp, he said as Lumum nodded. You did a great job, I hope we can work together again. here's the report for you to take to the camp leader where you are. The ninja who was the squad leader spoke beside the commander of this camp, and Lumum took the scroll, nodded, and left the tent. He encountered one of the ninjas who had worked with him on this mission. Lumum, so you're leaving? He asked. Yes, I must depart quickly, Lumum replied. Alright, if you're still interested, when you're at my camp, I could teach you some kenjutsu, he said, as Minato nodded. After all, Lumum had shown interest in his sword style during the mission. Look for me at Camp 8, my name is Kun Hataki, he said, being a member of that clan. Afterwards, Lumum bid farewell to the rest of the group and disappeared again. Man! If only I could use that jutsu too. One of the ninjas said, looking at where Lumum had been until recently. It wasn't a secret how coveted the Raijin jutsu was. Minato finally returned to Camp 10, where he removed his mask. Lumum was his codename that he had created once he knew the type of mission he would undertake. Janto had recommended him for the mission when another commander asked for a referral, placing Minato in this mission as Jiraiya had requested. He could even use Raijin against the ninjas, as long as there were no witnesses in the end, since Lumum already had to deal with the Stone Village hunting him. After removing the mask, Minato went to the main tent. He had been at this camp for 3 weeks now, helping as he could in training his Fuinjutsu. You finally arrived. How was the mission? Janto looked at the boy entering his tent as he continued with the reports. Yes, here's the report, he said, handing over the scroll, and the man began reading it right there. You really haven't disappointed me, he muttered, seeing the results and Minato's involvement. That's good. Those damn sand people are scheming again, and we're already preempting whatever they might throw at us in the coming months, he said. Minato remained silent. Anyway, congratulations. When I was 11, I was still in the academy. After all, the village didn't churn out ninjas as fast as it does now, and it took until I was 15 to become a chunin with missions up to B rank. Now, with you having completed 2 S-rank missions and this A-rank mission, with notes highlighting your significant role in their execution, you'll soon become a chunin. So don't be surprised if someone shows up soon to inform you of your promotion, he finished, and Minato nodded. Though satisfied, he personally didn't think ranks influenced much. Thank you, Commander Janto, Minato said. Now you can go. You're free these weeks to train, but if you can help me organize the reports as well, I'd appreciate it, he said, with a hint of apology. After all, Minato was helping him read and organize the reports. This man wasn't someone who liked sitting behind a desk reading and signing papers all day, not that Minato complained, as he was learning how Konoha's bureaucratic system worked in wartime. Now you can go, Janto said after Minato nodded, and he began to leave the tent to study and produce more explosive tags. Chapter 120, Kidnapping an Alchemist. Third-person POV. Land of Rain, Year 36. Suna had returned to the battlefield with his family at last. While everyone was again dividing up, his uncle, Nawaki, was heading to the southern camps along with his father. I want you guys to stay safe, Dan said, embracing Tsuna and Tsunade. We have a lot of work to do, you've read the reports. Tsunade crossed her arms, but looked on with a loving smile. I'm sure you do, you're the great heroines of this war, so I expect to hear great news from you, Dan said, scratching his head. He sighed before looking at Tsunade with a serious gaze. I'm going to talk to some shinobis about your proposal in Konoha, Tsunade, let's make this happen. He spoke, and Tsunade nodded, grateful for his support. Good luck, Dad, Suna said with a smile. Thank you, my daughter, I also want you to be very well. Come on, Nawaki. He spoke before departing with Tsuna's uncle. Tsunade watched for a while as Dan left with his younger brother and then turned back to her daughter a moment later. Let's go, we have a lot of work. Tsunade spoke and headed to the central camp, with Tsuna following her. Mom, how are things? What was that thing that Dad and you were talking about? Tsuna asked curiously about the conversation her mother and father had. A new poison has been produced by the Sand Village, Tsunade spoke as she continued to leap between trees heading to the central area. This is bad, Suna murmured, disliking what she had seen the first time with the poison and hoping not to encounter that scene of death and screams of agony again. I know you are sensitive to this, I went through the same thing at your age, but we are those who have to do this job, we are the only ones capable of it. Tsunade spoke with some determination. I'm just sad about it. But it's okay. Suna murmured. You miss her already, don't you? Tsunade spoke, knowing Suna was referring to something else. Of course, it's strange to think that when we go home, she won't be there anymore. I feel so empty now that great-grandma died. Suna commented with some tears rolling down her face, still remembering the funeral that would have been much bigger if they weren't at war. I know how you feel, my daughter. But she is in a place she always wanted to be, next to grandfather. Tsunade said with a sad tone as well. Knowing that Mito was dead was strange for the entire Senju family, perhaps for everyone who knew her. Tsunade resumed speaking after a time of silence. How was Kushina? I barely had time to talk with the girl, while I had to deal with all that bureaucracy. Tsunade asked. She's still a bit sad. She's feeling very lonely right now, as neither Mito nor we are in Konoha. She says everything is strange now that she has become the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, Suna spoke. She won't have an easy life, so it's better we finish this war as soon as possible. Tsunade spoke, and Suna nodded. They continued on their way until shinobis appeared to escort them. Tsunade-sama, it's good to have you back in the war, we'll escort you to the medical camp. The ninja spoke, and Tsunade just nodded as they approached the place. Everyone called Suna's mother with the suffix sama, due to her lineage, and even Suna received the nickname Princess of Konoha, which she particularly hated. They finally reached the camp a moment later, while the doctors responsible for most of the sectors there greeted them. Tsunade-sama. Welcome. They greeted her, while Tsuna followed her mother up to them. I want all the reports of everything that has happened in the last months. I also want all the details about this chemical weapon from the Sand Village. She requested, and everyone nodded. Come with me, Suna. Tsunade asked, and Suna accompanied her mother to her tent. I'll be sitting here for the next few hours looking at the reports. I want you to help me. She requested, and Suna joined her, as they began to review everything they could from what had happened since they had been in Konoha. Tsunade looked at one of the confidential reports and suddenly smiled. What's up, Mom? Suna looked at her curiously. I'm reviewing the report of the mission where they secured the first sample of the poison. It seems your friend is calling himself Lumum on the secret missions and is acting with the Umbu. Tsunade spoke calmly. Minato? Suna was surprised. It had been months since she last saw him, and her last contact had let her jealous side spoil their farewell, more than she would like to admit. I hope he's doing well, she commented. He is, but in a different way. After all, the boy is being hunted by the Stone Village and has been staying at various camps over the past few months. He has been working in a squad with the Umbus and ninjas on secret missions. Tsunade explained. Moreover, Tsunade began. He's on a mission in the south right now. No one has yet figured out how to deal with the poison. His squad is raiding a camp with a chemist at the border of the Wind Country. Their goal is to bring him alive so that the Yamanaka clan members can probe his mind to find the antidote. Tsunade said, and Suna nodded without much comment but grateful to know this. Anyway, let's set this aside and see how the patients are doing. I want to see the symptoms in the report personally to start working on a solution for this new poison. Tsunade said as she got up from her desk, and her daughter followed soon after. Meanwhile, near a desert in the south, Lumum was with his squad calmly observing the camp in front of them with a group of masked ninjas after passing the sentinels' blind spots. Delta 03, can we see the target? A masked ninja asked, apparently the leader of the group. Yes. The chemist is in the main tent, but security is extremely tight around him. Alpha. The ninja with Byakugan eyes behind his mask responded to the Umbu leader. I want to report on the entire camp, but don't get caught. We don't want to deal with a chemist self-destructing. He spoke while the entire group, made up of 12 people, was 2 kilometers from that camp, being an outpost. Among them, Lumum was looking at the distance, observing the vast desert stretching 8 to 10 kilometers on the horizon, where the wind country began with clear skies, contrasting with the skies of the rain country.
Yes, sir. The ninjas around Alpha responded together. Remember, do not get caught under any circumstances, understood?
He spoke, and all nodded before disappearing. They positioned themselves around the camp, while trying to gather information about the place.
Minato waited until night to use his ability to walk in the sky, obtaining a privileged position within the reach of Haki, undetected by any sensor. It was early morning when all the ninjas met again in a cave, retreating slightly to the rain country. I want all the reports you've compiled,
Alpha requested, and everyone began to give theirs. Lumum was the only one to report and everyone paid attention while the leader read. After all, he always gave the most precise report. There was a Hugo on the team who always gave the right numbers, but Lumum had the ability to detail even the strength of the enemy, reporting the number of genins, chunins, jonins, and elite jonins with their positions, which was very helpful in planning the group's last missions.
As expected.
Your numbers match those of Delta 03, but much more detailed. So we have 20 genins, 40 chunins, 10 jonins, and 2 elite jonins.
Our alchemist is a chunin.
Moreover, there's a barrier around the tent, so we have to take it down before we can extract him. Our plan is to take it down. We can't take down the entire camp, so the plan will be like this. He began as everyone paid attention. We'll create a distraction and capture one of the 4 ninjas who maintain the barrier. I want Lumum and Zelda to neutralize the alchemist while the rest of us create a distraction. Lumum has the ability to bring the ninja here through his jutsu.
He spoke and everyone nodded.
Now, I want everyone to get into position while we wait for dark. We'll start acting on my signal.
Alpha ordered, and everyone went to assume a position.
Lumum found a position a few kilometers away. An explosion from the attack teams would be the signal to start the assault, while Zelda was by his side.
We're on another kidnapping mission, Zelda.
The masked ninja beside him, a jonin, spoke, and Minato nodded.
Yes, this one will be quick.
Lumum spoke, knowing this mission was quite straightforward.
Haven't you been promoted to chunin yet?
He asked. After all, Minato was still the genin of the group, but his promotion had been requested.
Not yet, but I should be once I get back to camp. Lumum replied. That's good. Let's celebrate, Zelda said with a playful tone.
That's not healthy in the middle of a war, Lumum commented. I know, but Horn has some really good rum he's been keeping hidden. I'm sure the folks won't mind us having a little, Zelda murmured, and Minato nodded, despite this ninja offering alcoholic drinks to a 12-year-old child. Minato stayed silent along with his companion, and they spent hours without moving a muscle, staying hidden from any sentinel that might pass by, and night finally fell. Suddenly, an explosion occurred at the camp entrance in the distance. With Alpha and the others, we began the attack, and Lumum and Zelda stayed back for a while, just watching the screams and the loud sounds of jutsus and other explosions. Meanwhile, a signal rose into the sky at this moment, which was Alpha's signal that they had brought down the barrier and Lumum could act.
It's our turn.
Lumum spoke and grabbed a special kunai before launching it with force, touching Zelda's shoulder a moment later. In the advanced camp of the Sand Village, the alchemist was in the tent, which was a sort of laboratory, listening to all the explosions outside.
What's happening?
He murmured, surprised and scared.
We must stay alert, we can't let them capture you, the only ninja, being a personal guard of the alchemist, said, seeing that the situation outside was chaotic, and also noticing that the barrier around their tent had disappeared. It was at this moment that an opening cut through the tent fabric, with the kunai landing on the ground. They looked a bit surprised at this, and the alchemist took a step back, but before he could do much, 2 people appeared in an instant, with Lumum bringing Zelda. Zelda quickly attacked the sand ninja who was with the alchemist, while Lumum advanced at full speed, grabbing the alchemist by the shoulder and knocking him out with a blow to his head. He was about to leave but looked at Zelda at the last moment. Get out of here alive, Lumum requested. Will do. Zelda spoke, fighting against the ninja, and Lumum disappeared the next moment with the alchemist.
Lumum reappeared at a distance, but still in the rain country, waiting for his comrades to return to the meeting point they had agreed upon earlier. It was after a few hours that the others finally came back with only one injury and no losses. It wasn't an elimination mission, so they didn't have the priority to finish off all the ninjas and only needed to escape after Lumum had captured the alchemist. Alpha nodded that the mission was a success. Very well, now that we have our target, let's go back. We need to take him for interrogation, Lumum. You can take him to the camp where you left your seal and we'll meet later for the report. He spoke. They departed for the border of the Fire Country the next moment, while Lumum teleported directly to the agreed-upon camp, since the life of that alchemist was a priority and the others would arrive later. That wraps up this part of What If Transmigrated as Minato Namikaze. Thanks so much for listening. As always, new parts drop every 4 days, so be sure to stay tuned. Quick reminder. The series What If Ichigo awoke his true powers to save his mother will be going on hold soon, since we've nearly caught up with the author. So now, I need your help picking the next project for the channel. I'm currently deciding between these 3 fanfics. What if Transmigrated into a nightmare mode Dragon Ball world? What if Reborn in Highschool DxD as a Lucifuge? What if Fishing System in Food Wars world? Please vote in the poll and let me know which story you'd like to see next. I'll take the top pick and start working on that series next. Also check out my Patreon channel for early releases of all the series, where you can find all the series released one day ahead of YouTube. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and please consider supporting the original author as well. See you in the next one.